Hello, everyone. Joe and Mike back again from Build Assets Online, coming at you with a little bit of a different episode. We're going to be doing a BlueVine Business Checking review. Now, this is a bank account that we recently tried out. We opened up a new LLC for one of our websites, and we wanted to try out one of these online banking companies, and we're gonna tell you about it. And just FYI, we are not affiliates for BlueVine, and this might not even be a good review, to be honest with you, but we're not affiliates. So when you go on Google, and this is one of the reasons why I went with them, is like when you go on Google and you see all these sites like, I don't know, like Money Nerds and all these top financial sites like doing like a BlueVine review. As far as I could tell, and I'm not 100% sure, I think they get some sort of kickback because BlueVine also gives out like loans and stuff. But, you know, we're just giving you this based on our 100% honest, real life experience. This is kind of an emotionally charged subject for me, but I'm going to try and make this a fair and honest review. So you ready, Mike? I guess I'll have to do most of the talking, honestly.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm just going to sit by.
All right.
For most of this.
All right. You see I made this slide here. Most reviews on Google are not like, they're not legitimate. I'm not saying they're not legitimate reviews because maybe they're reviewing the services that BlueVine gives, like you can get a credit line or whatever, but they're not like real life experience. So I think there was a time and a place for this and a need. Because banking is quite a serious thing. I guess it's something I took for granted before we started using BlueVine. So let's start with the pros.
Well, Joe, before we get into that, I think people listening that may not be familiar, so BlueVine is a totally online banking company, correct?
Yes.
So as opposed to something like Chase or Capital One or, TD, PNC, blah, 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 they don't have any branches that you can go into and take care of business. You just have to start it up online, and it's a financial tech startup.
That's right. And there's a quote about that later in the deck. I don't know if you saw it, but okay. There's a quote. So the pros of this is that it's easy to open a bank account. It actually took me less than a day. And the customer service when I was doing this was very friendly. They're all seem to be native English speakers. So, it's not like when you call one of these like branches in real life, like Chase, Capital One, you usually get like someone in the Philippines or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I was like, oh, it's nice to speak to someone that I can have like they fully understand what I'm saying. So I was like, oh, that was nice. And the interface I thought was smooth online, very, very retro and easy to use. I was like, oh, when I signed up, everything was clean. Sometimes some of the like Capital One and Chase can be a little bit clunky on the back end. So when I signed up, I was like, oh, this is kind of easy to use. This is nice. So, but that's where the good stuff stopped, because it all went south very quickly from there. And it all started within the first week or so when we got our account open. So what happened was we changed over our payment processor to deposit funds into this BlueVine account, which is where we pay off our credit card. And we have a pretty high volume business. So how often do we pay off the credit card, Mike? I mean, almost daily. We pay this credit card daily. So what started happening was they started rejecting deposits from our payment processor for no good reason. They say it's things on their end, their systems, blah, 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 blah. But, they were letting us put money into the account. They let us transfer money into the account. They let us do other things. But for some reason, they just started rejecting these payments, which like literally we need those payments to pay our credit card. That's kind of how the cash flow works in the online business that we have. So this was a huge headache, and this is only the start of it, Mike. So at this point, Mike, how much of a headache was it for you?
Well, it didn't seem like they had any trouble taking money from our account. So I think we started out, we put like $50,000 in there just to kind of give it a nice padding, and then make sure there's no issues as we grow the account and we're paying off the cards. For anyone that watches us and does high ticket drop shipping, you know how it is when it comes to paying credit cards, especially in this business where it's does hundreds of $1,000s in revenue a month. So the payments were not coming in. However, they were taking money from our account, say for refunds and stuff like that. And it was a pretty stressful start to the relationship because they weren't paying us. I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen to the money. And, the bank account just kept going down. We weren't able to pay our credit card. So this is just, the first week of using the
Yeah.
service.
Yeah. So the payment was stuck in our payment processor in Shopify. And, not only can we not pay off the credit card, whatever, we actually, luckily, I mean, we have a good, solid foundation of funds if we have to bring in some backup money into this business to do that. If we didn't have to end up doing that, but if we did, we could do that. But if you're a small business owner that doesn't have that luxury, this could be a huge problem. But also, what caused the headache for us in our business is if we cannot place orders on time and our credit card can't get paid off, the customer is going to get their stuff late, and that causes just a chain of headaches down the line. Like it could, that you're gonna have customers complaining. That's gonna stress our customer service teams. Like it's not good. It's not good.
It's really a whole chain of reactions. It's not just like you said. Everything has a consequence. So by us not being able to place orders, then it may increase our rate of chargebacks. It just creates an overall bad experience for everyone involved. And like you said, Joe, we could live without this. What it was like $60,000 that they were holding at the time.
80,000. Oh, maybe at this time.
No, for this in the beginning,
right?
It was like maybe 60,000 in total that they were holding up, and we could live without that. But we have students, and this is why we need to make these videos, because we have students that can't do that. They're just getting started, and so every order that comes in is building their bankroll. And we've been doing this for 5 years, so this is not a problem for us. It's not going to ruin our lives, but this could literally ruin someone's life. We have students that say, "Oh, a chargeback gets filed against them." It screws up their whole business because they're so new.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is what happens when you're a small business is you have one, you don't have any reserved funds, which, is the case for a lot of people. In any business, if your money gets stuck or you run out of money, the works are gummed up. So this is a huge problem. Yeah. And this is only the start. So I want to talk, I'm actually going to do another video, which will be in the description of this one. So the next thing that happened was they suspended our account for suspicious activity. In the other video, I'm going to talk about how, if your BlueVine account is on hold, how you can get it back. I'm going to talk about the steps we use to get it back. But right now I'm just going to talk about what happened for this review. So if you want to see that video, check that out. And be sure to share this video if you are using BlueVine or you think this would be helpful to other small business owners. Anyway, so whatever, we got that fixed. I mean, it was actually probably like 5 or 10 hours of phone calls, me having to call them and me having to escalate it to the manager and just going through this whole rigmarole because the customer front end, the front end customer service agents, I'd be like, look, I can't get money into the account. They would say, oh, we're starting a ticket. And then I would never hear, they would, I just wouldn't hear from them. So I had to keep following up. And then finally I got in touch with the manager and he resolved it in a somewhat timely fashion, but it was an absolute huge headache. Like it was not easy for me to, get up and make these phone calls every day and then have to follow up because they didn't get back to me when they promised they were going to get back to me.
Yeah, and this is a lot of money that we're talking about. Like it shouldn't take your consistent effort calling and calling and calling just to have access to our money. But you did get it cleared up, so good on you, Joe. And it was going okay for a couple weeks, maybe a month total.
Yeah.
But I do want to say so like when we use a regular, say Capital One, when we say when Shopify says we're going to get a payout on the 22nd, then we get that payout that is pending in our account in Capital One on the 22nd. We have access to use those funds. With BlueVine, we did not get that. So they would not show if a payment was pending. It would not be in our balance. And therefore, we had to wait another extra day to get our payments. However, they would take refunds out on the same day. So yeah. I was willing to live with that. It is what it is as long as we're getting our money. But what happened next, Joe?
So like you said, everything was going pretty smooth for a month besides for that issue where we didn't really see the pending payments. But the next thing that happened was the worst thing of all and the most disruptive thing you can possibly imagine. And if we hadn't been in business for as long as we have and BlueVine was our first business checking account, there is a high probability that this would have absolutely crushed and ruined our business. So this is something that if you're thinking about opening a BlueVine checking account, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you, but this happened to us. So it's something worth thinking about. So they suspended our account for suspicious activity when we had over $80,000 of money in the account. And what does that actually mean? So BlueVine is owned by a company called Bancorp, or like they're their partner, or there's some sort of relationship. And Bancorp flagged our account for documents that I was pretty sure I submitted them when I opened the account, but why would they even let me open it if they didn't have the necessary documentation? So they want, yeah, why would they let me open it and use it? So they needed my driver's license, which I gave them already, I'm pretty sure. And then a few other things they need to know, like what's the funding source for this business? And I had to tell them, oh, it's like our payment gateway. It's Shopify Payments. So that was the reason for the suspension. And what happened was that I called them immediately, like that day when it happened. And this was like last week. So everyone I spoke with, besides for the main manager, was 100% useless. So I was given, just like the past time, I was given wrong time frames, and I didn't get a follow-up like when I was promised to get a follow-up. So I was actually told that last week, end of the day Friday, that it was going to get solved by them, because the first person I called said, oh, just send this information to Bancorp, and I did that. And then Bancorp replied saying that everything's good, we'll tell BlueVine to reactivate it. So I called BlueVine on Friday, and they said, yeah, if Bancorp said it's good, we should have it reactivated by end of the day today. And that didn't happen. So at this point, I had spent, just to even get to that point where I can send them the documents, it was a headache. But I was expecting it to be reactivated end of the day on Friday, which is what I was told by the representative, and that didn't happen. So when I called next Monday, what happened was that, or sorry, when I called on Monday, the lady then said like, oh yeah, this usually takes 7 to 10 business days. And I just flipped out because they have to review it again on their end, even after Bancorp already approved it.
Yeah, so that's 2 weeks. 10 business days is 2 weeks.
I'm
not having access to your own money.
This is different than the situation before. This is much worse, because if your payment processor isn't depositing, I could just tell them in the meanwhile, oh, just switch it over to this bank account, and maybe it's a little headache, but we could deal with it. Switch it over to another bank account, because at least that you have access to your money in some way. But if you're losing access to the funds of your business for 2 weeks, there's a good chance, if you're a small business, like you're done. You're not going to be able to pay your vendors. You're not going to be able to pay your employees. And it's going to be a chain reaction that, especially in these times, that's what makes it even worse, is that, we're lucky to where we have an online business and things are going well. But for a lot of people, things aren't going well. And if they got some sort of hit like this and they weren't as persistent as me, or they didn't have even the time or the will to keep following up with them, and I had to go through it, following up with them to get this stuff resolved. Who knows when it would have got resolved? And so this is life ruining stuff.
Yeah, there's no disaster loan to get. There's no aid from the government. It's just them, and you can't even log into your account to switch over the payment. So I think that's what you were trying to get into. So like with Shopify, they couldn't deposit anything into our account anymore. So they say, okay, we can't deposit anything right now. We're just going to hold all your payments and keep a balance. That way, if they have to issue refunds, they can take it from our balance. But in order to switch where the payouts are going to go, you need to get access to you need to give them your old bank account info. And we can't even log into our account to look it up. So we literally had, on top of the $80,000 that they were holding, we had another $80,000 in Shopify that we could not get access to because we didn't be able to log into BlueVine and get our account number to switch everything over. So that's $160,000.
Yeah. And to be fair, because I want to keep this as fair as possible, when I called on Monday and you said, oh, just ask her for the account information while it's suspended so we can make this switch to get access to our Shopify. And she did give me that. Maybe I could have wrote down my bank, my routing and checking number, but that's just to have it on file to know what it was. But you'd get it by logging in. You can see your banking information by logging in, and we didn't have access to that. But during the
at that point though, they had already said that we were in the clear when you had done that. So yeah. To be fair, they did give it to us, but at that we were already we had already pushed along in the process a little bit. I don't know if someone calls immediately and asks that they'll give it to you because they're holding your account, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's
that's where
true.
we cleared it up to a certain degrry. So they gave us that info. I don't know what they would do beforehand.
Yeah. So it was yesterday that I actually got this resolved, and well, it'll be the day before this video is recorded, not necessarily posted. But so I was basically on the phone with them all day yesterday, like for at least an hour in the morning, because I have to. When they give me time frames and don't follow up with them, I'm not just gonna listen to their new time frames. I'm gonna tell them, hey, like, you already gave me a time frame, like, do something else, like, solve this now. So that's basically kind of what I had to tell them. And then finally got in touch. I got a call back from the guy who helped us the first time around, and he was able to solve it in about an hour or so. And so here's the problem. And what he told me was that even though Bancorp had given the okay for us, BlueVine, which is their partner company, had never received it. So it's like we're dealing with two separate entities, and like it's just like a layer and layer and layer of bureaucracy, and no one can get anything done besides this one person who is very far away from the front lines of who you can get in touch with from a customer service perspective. That's the experience we had. Sorry, long pause there, but yeah. So finally got it resolved yesterday after getting in touch with the right person. But, needless to say, we're not going to be using this company anymore. And if you're a small business and you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about using the business checking account, I cannot say we recommend it, because if we were in a lesser position, it would have been disastrous. And you can see here I have this quote. Mike, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, you can see I have this quote. Why don't you read it, because it's your quote?
I said, I guess, I hate using companies where I can't walk into their building and start flipping some tables. Mike Brusca, 2020. And that's true. That's true, because they have no accountability. They can just keep you going through this little maze of customer service and, generic responses. And it's not the customer service people's fault. It's just the corporate bureaucracy of it. They want to be, this disruptive tech startup, but they disrupted our lives, and they could have ruined the lives of any one of our students, any one of a small business owner. And so it's just insane. It's not how you do business. And I know for a fact, if we had this issue with, a legit banking institution, we just walk into the bank, we say, hey, what's going on here? Or we just withdraw our money. So with online companies, there's no accountability.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's an interesting thing to think about how things are kind of shifting in this direction. You see online disruptive companies for like everything now, and some of them are okay, but I think that we're almost going too far with it. We have these things that they kind of work already. And even by there's almost no need to improve on like a basic bank. We could get it. That's a large discussion, but I'm saying,
how much is there to disrupt? Just make a nice, the pros that you listed on the banking side. That's all that you need to do to have a functioning online bank product. It's what else do you have to disrupt?
Well, they do. I think BlueVine's businesses, they actually give like loans and lines of credit and things like that. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just like the banking, just a straight checking savings account portion.
Yeah,
there's really no reason to not go with a major institution that you can walk in. Besides for the fact BlueVine just makes it easy to set up. They have native English customer support, which is a plus, and their user interface is good.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was trying to say, is that, yeah, for basic banking that you're going to do for business or for day to day, I think for a large percentage of people, there's no reason to go with an online bank. So we're going to actually do a Capital One review because we've been using them for a number of years. And one of the things that drew me to BlueVine was their interest rate, But we've been getting some killer interest rates from the Capital One Business Savings. Kind of crazy, actually. So we're going to talk about that in another video. Link in the description below when it gets up, if you want to check that out, because yeah, we'll talk about our experience with Capital One over the past like 4 or 5 years, I think. So in the next video, I'm going to actually walk through step by step what you need to do, or what we did if your BlueVine account is on hold, because it's interesting. I'll show you the first slide here. I Googled BlueVine account, and then one of the things that comes up with is on hold. So if you do Google auto-completed that, and that tells me that other people are searching for what to do in this situation as well. So I'm going to make a separate video just for that to, help you out if you're in that situation. And, be sure to like this video, share it if you think it'll help someone, and leave a comment in the descriptions if you've worked with BlueVine. I want to know what your experience has been. Like, has this just been something that we've dealt with, or are other people dealing with this as well? My wife was actually going through their Twitter and some other things, and she was seeing that some people are having similar experiences to us. So let us know in the descriptions.
And take it easy.